Today my wife came home and told me to take off her shirt, so I did. Then she told me to take off her skirt, so I did. Then she told me to take off her bra and panties, so I did. And then she said, "Stop stealing my clothes, you keep stretching them out." What up, YouTube? Let's hear. Thanks again for visiting the channel. As always, I appreciate it. If this is your first time to the channel, thank you so much for watching. Please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button just for the algorithm. And if you enjoy the content, please subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate that. Go ahead and follow me on Instagram, if you wouldn't mind. It's let's_do-it-up, LETS_DOITUP. And if you would like for me to review one of your knives or some of your knives on my channel, go ahead and send me an email at letsdiu79@gmail.com. I'll go ahead and send you my shipping address. As soon as I receive the knife or knives, I will go ahead and spend a week or two with it, review it, and then send it right back to you. Again, it's letsdiu79@gmail.com. And today, we're doing a quick review of the MICROTECH Knives Socom Elite. This is a fantastic knife. I absolutely love it. You guys might have noticed I've done some thinning out of my review mat. I found that the camera likes to try to focus on everything else all at once. So I'm hoping that this will help to cut down on that a little bit and help the focus to stay a little bit better focused, if you know what I mean. So the overall length on this guy is 9 inches. That's without the glass breaker. With the glass breaker, like maybe 9 1/8 inches, because it's a very small glass breaker, which I love. The blade is 4 inches long with a cutting edge of 3.75 inches and a handle length just over 5 inches. Some quick size comparisons here. Compared to the Rat Model 1, the Rat Model 1 is going to be just a little bit smaller than the Socom Elite. And the Rat Model 2 is obviously going to be quite a bit smaller than the Socom Elite. Let me bring this down a little bit so it's not laying on top of the coin there. There we go. Perfect. Compared to the 8020S, the 8020S is going to be just a little bit smaller than the Socom Elite. And the 8020.5 is obviously going to be quite a bit smaller than the Socom Elite. Last but certainly not least, we've got the SPYDERCO knives. The SPYDERCO Paramilitary 2 is obviously going to be quite a little bit smaller than the MICROTECH Socom Elite. And the Para 3 is going to be quite a bit smaller than the Socom. Carry profile. When this guy is closed, it's still going to be longer than both of these knives. There we go. And let's get a thickness real quick. Compared to the Para 3, the Socom Elite is going to be quite a bit thicker than the Para 3. At the tallest point of this guy, let's see, I'll go from the bottom of that thumb, or the top of that thumb ramp there. It's still not quite as tall as the Para 3, so that's good. It's not terrible in the pocket. The blade stock thickness on this guy is 187 thousandths, which is quite a thick blade stock, so you've got quite a bit of strength in this blade for sure. Let's get a quick weight on this guy. Let's see if this turns on. Bazinga! All right, I believe it's like 5.4, 5.3 inches. Let's check it with the pocket clip just in case that makes a difference. Did I say inches? I'm so stupid. 5.4 ounces for this knife. So that's actually pretty light. I mean, not super duper light, but light nonetheless. All right, the blade steel for this guy, it's going to vary. MICROTECH kind of puts whatever blade steel they have available at the time when they make their knives, but this particular version is M390. You guys know my feelings on M390. It's a fantastic steel. I wish it wasn't on absolutely every knife in the community. In this price range, but it is. That's okay. Not the end of the world. Like I said, it's still a fantastic steel. This is the TANTO variant. It also comes in drop point. Most people probably prefer the drop point. I prefer the TANTO. You guys know that. We've been over it a few times. We've got a flat grind with a flat that carries out to about 85-90% the length of the blade, and there's also a swedge here that carries out to about 80% the length of the blade. This is obviously a thumb stud only operated knife, and it's running on bearings with aluminum scales. You can see here that it's got quite a large pivot, which is great. I love large pivots, and I cannot lie. You've got a T20 for the pivot here. T6 screws everywhere else except for the pocket clip. The pocket clip on this guy is a T8. And there's also T8s here for the screws that connect the nested titanium liner lock on the inside of this knife. Like I said, nested titanium liner lock. This is actually the first nested titanium liner lock I've ever had, and I absolutely love it for sure. Again, you've got this steel glass breaker back here, which is just ever so small, which is fantastic. It's so much better than those huge glass breakers that they put on the Combat Troodon and the Direct Delta, and you know, those are just gigantic and they just look weird on the back of the knife. I like this much better. You've also got a little bit of a lanyard hole here, and you have a stamped stainless steel pocket clip, which unfortunately is right-handed tip down only, which is crazy to me. You guys know I'm not a huge fan of pocket clips. I put it back on the knife just for the review. That'll be coming back off as soon as I'm finished with the review. I just want to be able to show it to you guys in its natural configuration. Again, this is aircraft grade aluminum, very strong, very lightweight, and it's actually quite resistant to scratches and dings and nicks and stuff like that, which is great, because I'm not exactly gentle with my knives, and I definitely carry this for sure. The action on this guy is absolutely fantastic. You can see that it just kind of drops down into the handle as you move the handle up to the blade. The D10 on this guy is great. You know, no stickiness or anything like that with the D10. It's not too heavy, it's not too light, and as you just push the thumb stud, that blade just rockets out of the handle, and you've got that loud thwack when you open it, which is just great. I love the acoustics on this knife, absolutely, for sure, 100%. There's no lock stick on this guy at all. There was just a little bit of lock stick on this guy when I first got it, but as I've played with it, that's gone away, which is great. The ergonomics on this guy are fantastic. You can kind of use this area here, this sharpening choil, or whatever you'd like to call it, plunge grind. You can kind of use that as a forward finger choil if you want to, but it's pretty close for me, so I don't really do that. You've got this nice thumb ramp here with jimping on the back of the thumb ramp, and you've also got some jimping here on the front of the blade, or on the back of the blade rather, which helps when you're choked up. And it's definitely meaningful traction. It's a little bit aggressive, but it's not sharp at all. It's knocked down pretty well, so it's very comfortable. It doesn't cut up your finger or anything like that, but it does provide meaningful traction. Speaking of meaningful traction, you've got these rubberized inlays here, which provide quite a bit of meaningful traction without actually scratching up anything that the knife comes into contact with. I guess they used to use skateboard paper on this guy. And whenever something would bump up against these inlays here, it would scratch up, you know, whatever it was that hit the knife. You've also got some milling here on top of the aluminum scales, which also provides a little bit of traction, and you've got some more jimping here back towards the back of the handle, and also where your ring and pinky finger lie on the bottom of the scales as well. You've also got some jimping here on the lock bar, which allows you to get a good grip on that to disengage the knife. And there's a little bit more jimping here on the bottom of the scales, just towards the blade. You can see that there. You've also got quite a large stop pin rather, up here in the knife, which is only functional when the knife is closed. It does not function when the knife is open. You know, for the stop pins for that, you've got the thumb studs which contact the aluminum scales right here, as you can see. Some people have concerns that that's going to, affect the coating on the aluminum. But as you can see, if I close this guy, there hasn't been much of an issue with that at all. There's a little bit of discoloration there, but it's not terrible at all. It seems pretty good. You can also see there the engagement of the lock bar. It's at about, I'd say 30-35%, which isn't too bad. The knife is perfectly centered, absolutely perfectly centered. And when it's open, you've got no blade play at all, left, right, up, or down. Okay, I think that's most of the nitty-gritty, the specs and everything. So how does this knife make me feel? It makes me feel like a fucking rock star. I absolutely love this knife. Deploying it, just the soft click when it falls back down into the scales. I absolutely love everything about this knife, especially the acoustics. Like I said, when you hear that thwack, if you do have to use this in a self-defense situation, it's a really good knife to have in that sort of a situation, because when you rocket this thing out of the handle, it makes that noise. It's going to scare the hell out of just about anybody when they see that 4-inch long blade. And it's really satisfying. Opening the blade, it's really satisfying. Closing the blade, and it's so comfortable to have in your hand. You've got all that gripitude from the inlays and from all the jimping and everything. And it's just so comfortable to have this thing in your hand, especially with your thumb up here on the spine of the blade. I love the thumb studs. I love how big and robust they are. They really help you to get a hold of that blade and just thwack it out really easily. Carrying this thing in the pocket isn't terrible, but it's not exactly, like I said, the smallest thing in the world. You're going to notice that it's in your pocket for sure. If you're wearing basketball shorts, it's not exactly the kind of knife that I would carry. A lot of people have issues with the billboarding on this blade here. I think that's kind of just something that you take along with the knife. It's kind of like SPYDERCOs. Most of the people in the knife community will understand me when I say that most people, when they get into knives or collecting or whatever, they absolutely hate SPYDERCOs. For the most part, most people hate SPYDERCOs just because of the way they look. They're ugly. They're just ugly. But once they get them in hand and they realize how utilitarian they are, and just how awesome of a knife this is for just everyday cutting tasks, everyday carry, being able to choke up on it, how comfortable this knife is, the fact that it's as ugly as it is kind of just goes out the window, and eventually you even kind of grow to like the way they look. At least I did. I don't know about all you guys, but I think that's kind of the same thing with the billboarding on the handle here. That's just something that comes with MICROTECs. It is what it is. If you love MICROTECH knives, you kind of get used to all this huge billboarding here. The gigantic MICROTECH sign, the Socom Elite. Let me see if I can get closer here so you guys can read it a little better. The serial number, USA, the date it was manufactured, the blade steel, M390, the little R down there. It just kind of incorporates itself into the knife, and you actually kind of appreciate looking at it. At least, again, this is just how I'm feeling about it. I don't know how everybody else feels about it. There are people that kind of pick on the knife because of the billboarding and everything, and I totally understand that. But I don't know if it's kind of like becomes kind of like a status symbol thing, or just like, I have a MICROTECH and I like having, I like looking at this billboarding because that means that I have a MICROTECH. Obviously, you're going to have the same thing on the knockoffs and the fakes and everything like that. But again, I don't have a problem with the billboarding on this knife. I'm not a huge fan of billboarding on many of any other kinds of knives, but I don't have a problem with the billboarding on this one. Another issue that a lot of people have are the T6 screws, especially considering the fact that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. I think there's only 6. Oh, nope, I'm sorry, there's 7. So 7 T6 screws on this guy, along with the T20 pivots, the T8s for the lock bar, and the pocket clip. It makes for a lot of hardware, and especially when you're talking about T6s. Most people in the knife community hate T6s. I certainly do. But again, I'm not planning on taking this guy apart anytime soon, so I don't consider that too big of a problem. I really wish that they were T8s, but it is what it is. I wanted this knife. I've wanted this knife ever since I started collecting knives. This is actually the knife that got me into collecting. When I saw it on MC's channel, I fell in love with it, and I'm like, I really love that thing. It's really cool. And then I kind of started getting into knives like crazily, as you know. So yeah, I guess I just kind of bit the bullet on those T6 screws, and I accepted them, and you know, here they are. I wish they weren't there though. The texturing on the handle, there's really not much texturing outside of those inlays. It's actually kind of smooth. But that's not terrible. Again, with all the texturing and the jimping that you do have, it provides quite a bit of meaningful traction. So, you know, the smoothness of the aluminum is not a problem for me. Aluminum. Again, the pocket clip, I do still hate it, so that's coming off again. But a lot of people, most people in the knife community, can't really bring themselves to carry a knife without a pocket clip on it. So there are a lot of people who have a lot of strong feelings about the pocket clip, the fact that it's only tip down carry and it's only right-handed. So otherwise it would be an ambidextrous knife. You can use this liner lock with your left hand, and obviously he's got some thumb studs on both sides, so it's an ambidextrous knife. I don't know if they would have been able to make the pocket clip on the show side or not. I totally understand why they couldn't do it tip up, because you can't really fit the pocket clip into this area down here with the way they have the handles shaped. So it is what it is. But otherwise, another thing that I really love about this knife is just this strong, robust tip. This is the same kind of tip that you see on Hinderer knives, ZTs, stuff like that. And I really appreciate that. You know, it's not exactly like I'm going to be prying with my knife or anything like that. But just in case you do end up in a situation where your knife gets stuck in something and you have to kind of wiggle it out and this, that, and the other thing, you don't have to worry about breaking the tip on this knife, which is fantastic because it's an expensive knife. The only other downside of this knife is the fact that it's incredibly hard to get. I had to search for this knife for 2.5 or 3 years, and that's looking on the internet like once a week to see if I can find it the entire time. Once you do find it, it is quite expensive. It's about $300. I think it used to be around $265 or something like that, maybe a couple of years ago. But now it's up to $300. And in my opinion, it's well worth that price. This knife can withstand just about anything you can put it through. I don't think there's much you can do to destroy this thing. So I think that price is more than fair. It is a little high, but I was happy to pay it. You know, I had no problem with that whatsoever. And again, this is not available right now. There's nothing I can do to put links in the description for you guys to be able to buy this. But all you have to do is just keep an eye out for it. Keep looking for it. I actually found mine on Blade HQ, which is crazy to me because you normally can't find anything exciting on Blade HQ. So I think that's it for this one tonight, guys. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. And stay up, y'all. Take it easy. Bye.